Welcome, everyone, to the July issues briefing, Truth Matters, Tools to Fight Election Mis and Disinformation. Thank you all for joining us this early morning, but I think it'll be a great conversation, and I'm hoping everyone leaves here sort of activated and with ways to sort of bring this work back to your local leagues and beyond, because November is a really important, all elections are important, but going into November, the misinformation and disinformation component to things is incredibly important for all of us to be aware of and be able to take action around. This particular issues briefing has been co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters and the League of Women Voters of Cook County. So welcome to everyone sort of outside of Chicago. We live in an era where it's often difficult to separate fact from fiction in our political elections. How do we even begin to identify truth? Our speakers today will share some insights on these concepts and why they are so important. So I'd like to introduce Barb Laimins and Ann Sullivan, who were appointed co-chairs of the Illinois League's Task Force for Misinformation and Disinformation to address the troubling rise of misinformation and disinformation and its impact on our elections. The League formed this task force in January of 2024 to educate the public about differentiating fact from fiction and everything in between. Some 24 League members from across the state volunteered to serve on one of several committees, including this task force. What initially grew out of their efforts were toolkits to send to each of our 43 leagues with monthly modules featuring links to video presentations by experts, as well as press releases, PSAs, and PPTs. Today, they will share the toolkits and educational materials, followed by your questions and suggestions. To introduce our speakers, Barb Laimins joined the League of Women Voters of Wheaton in 2014. She has served as voter service chair and league president and instituted a LWV Wheaton Civic Education Committee. A past LWVIL board member, she currently serves on the LWVIL Membership Committee, the LWVIL Issues and Advocacy Committee, and is on the LWVIL and is the LWVIL representative on the Illinois General Assembly Task Force to study the implementation of ranked choice voting in Illinois. Barb is also on the planning board for LWV and the National Institute for Civic Discourse. And we have Ann Sullivan, who joined the League of Women Voters of Wilmette Board of Directors in 2017, where she chaired voter services and communications and served as an advocacy chair for DEI initiatives and fair elections. She was co-president in 2022 and 2023. She is also Wilmette's representative on the LWV Cook County Board of Directors. Please join me in welcoming Barb and Ann.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ann, and I just want to kind of cover what we're going to talk about today. Jane actually gave you a lot of background about the task force, which is great. I'm gonna just talk to you a little bit about our charter and how it was conceived, and then Barb is going to go right into our committees and how they function, as well as the resources that we have available for all of you to use. And then I'm going to come back and talk about what we're planning for the next couple of months. And then we'd really like to have an interactive discussion about what you need, how we can serve you, how we can all work together. We're happy to come and talk to individual leagues or do a Zoom with you or your board or your leadership to talk about where there are intersections and opportunities. And in fact, that's how we got here today, was by having a meeting like that with Jane and Catherine and the Chicago League. So without further ado, we actually have been in business for almost a year. In 2023 at the League of Women Voters of Illinois convention, there was direction to the board to address mis and disinformation. And in August, the new board convened a meeting to talk about how we might want to do that. And Barb and I submitted a proposal about how a task force might work. We were approved in September, and we had our first monthly meeting with our task force volunteers in October. And today we have, I think, about 40 people that are at least on our mailing list for the committee, and we have 27 point people from individual leagues, and we're figuring out how to add the leagues that we don't have anybody yet. So if your league does not have a point person and you'd like to volunteer to do that, just let us know that. We welcome everybody. And really, our goal is to mitigate the impact of false information and contribute to a more informed and resilient society. In order to do that, we are implementing measures that educate and counter the spread and impact of mis and disinformation through public awareness, which is, our website, social media posts. We've had a couple of interviews in the press. We also are doing collaborations with partners. We have an event coming up in September that we have 52 libraries from around Illinois that are going to attend. We're also going to do a presentation for the Illinois Library Association. We've been working with the Illinois State Board of Elections. We have a partnership with their digital content manager to try to get all of their election security information out there. There's some other things in the works. And then the third thing is to offer public seminars and workshops. And Barb's going to tell you a little bit more about those, but we've had quite a few webinars now monthly. We skipped July because we needed a month off, but we'll be coming back in August and September with more information about that. I'm going to turn it over to Barb because she can tell you all about those things.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anne. One of the joys of working on this task force, I have to say, is working with Anne. So she and I, we love working together and have a secret meeting place that we'll share with you at the end in case you want to join us in the future. But anyway, as everyone said, once the task force was approved by LWVIL, Anne and I put out a call for volunteers to serve on the committees, and 45 league members from 26 leagues answered the call to serve on the planning team. And another 28 volunteers agreed to serve as coordinators or point people for their local league. So what we did is the planning team then met and they divided into 4 major committees. One committee was education. I think Brenda Calvin is on the call and who's here today, who serves on the education committee. And she, along with her other committee members, have spent countless hours researching and developing educational materials that have evolved into talking points and presentations. Elections Committee, co-chaired by your own Rochelle and Ginny, whom I'm sure you all know, have successfully built relationships with local election officials and are in the process of developing materials to pre-bunk and inoculate against disinformation surrounding our elections. We have a Partners and Speakers Committee. Debbie DePalma, who I think is here this morning, has made great suggestions that help Anne and I organize and obtain speakers for our monthly programs. The communications team, which is lucky to have Chris Reese as a member, because Chris writes the press release for all our programs and materials for the modules I'm going to show you in a few minutes. We also have a response and reporting committee, which developed a forum for members of the league and public to report mis and disinformation in their local area. So this is, I'm going to share my screen and can you all see it? Great. One of the first tasks that we did as a task force was to create a web page. This was our first accomplishment with the help of Sophie, who many of you are labeled as Sophie, but the real Sophie was the one who helped us put together a task force web page that's located on LWVIL. One of the things we wanted to do on the web page was to make sure that everyone understood the differences between misinformation and disinformation. We were able, thanks to the communications committee, to develop some general information that's available for you and the members on how to spot it, what you can do about it, learn more, and most importantly, it hosts our events that we have had monthly from speakers on different aspects of mis and disinformation. These programs we do record, and they're available for you to watch while you're avoiding doing household tasks or getting involved in what you want to get involved more in league process of mis and disinformation. Please feel free to look at our videos. They have been viewed over 200 times by the records that are taken on um, on YouTube. About the Misinformation Task Force, we have our email there so that people can reach out to us. And the most important thing we have here, I hope I'm not making you seasick by scrolling back and forth, is what you can do about mis and disinformation. We have a reporting form where local league members or members of the public can report to us where they've encountered misinformation, how often do they see it, where they saw it. And so that's so that the response team can try and combat the mis and disinformation that you see. What we do have also created, thanks to the hard work of all our committees, is our shared resource drive. Last night, those of you who have a Gmail address were given access to the shared Google Drive where the resources are stored. Sadly, if you registered with a non-Gmail address, we were not able to add you due to quirky Google requirements. But have no fear. If you do have a Gmail address, just send it to us, Ann or I, and we'll happily add you to the resources so that you can use them. Also, if you have trouble accessing it, email me and I can send you simple instructions on how to find the resource drive. But basically what you do when you open a Google search engine, you'll see these dots up here in the right-hand corner. And what you need to do is click on those, click on Drive. Then what you'll see is this menu on the left here. You'll see Shared Drives and click on that, and that'll get you into the LWV Shared Resource Drive. So since February, the committees worked together to provide information for what we have now as 3 modules to be used by you and the local leagues in your local communities. Our thinking was that local leagues know their local communities best, and local communities know their local leagues as a trusted resource for factual, non-biased information. So what are the modules? We have an introductory module that basically explains what is mis and disinformation. We have a media literacy module that ties to our speakers that has information in there on how to help people find reliable information. And our latest module is how do you have conversations with people who you disagree, which goes along with our last featured program. So let me show you what's in each module. Each module has common features aimed to reach different segments of your community. We have social media posts that you can take to spread the word to league members, and to post them on your website, on your Facebook page and social media, and have your league members also share the information. For instance, I posted the do's and don'ts, this social media post right here on the Wheaton webpage, and it was shared over 40 times and had over 1,400 views. So we know that people are looking at our websites and our social media, and they're looking for information to get how to get accurate information. We can never underestimate the power of the league. Infographics are perfect to download. This is an infographic that's put out by the News Literacy Project that we've used. But how could you use those? You can share them with your local library, churches. You can put it on your table at summer festivals. You can post them in coffee shops. And you can even send them to the teachers in your area, as they're always looking for information on the teach media literacy, which is now required to be taught in all middle and high schools in Illinois. We also have press releases. Chris, thanks to Chris, we have press releases about our programs. We have post-press releases that are filed there, and we have press releases for you to send to your local media, your local newspapers, on how, for instance, this one is tips on how local residents can identify and verify election disinformation. All you have to do is fill in the name of your local league and your contact information, and we can send it off to the editors of your neighborhood newspapers. Chris has also created, let me get back here. Chris has also created, where's the file? Oh, public service announcements. Most of us don't have access to a public radio or television station, but many of you in Chicago and Cook County do. But you can send these to the station and ask them to air them and develop just 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or a 40 or a 60-second PSA. For those of us out here in the suburbs who don't have access to a local television station, some other ways that you can use this information is to ask influential members of your community to record them. So maybe some high schoolers or some college students. I've asked the mayor of my local community to read one of them. I recorded him with my iPhone camera, and then what I was able to do was post it to social media. Very simple, but it helps spread the word and show that the whole community is concerned that we all get accurate information in this upcoming election cycle. The other thing that we've provided for all the local leagues is a PowerPoint. The Education Committee has spent countless hours to try and give you some information for you to present to community groups, perhaps your Rotary, Lions Club, book clubs, the library. The possibilities are really endless where you could present these PowerPoints. If you look at the PowerPoints, what we've also done is we've included speaker's notes. So you don't have to become an expert. You can just go through the slides and read the information that's been provided for you. If you all have a little stage fright and you're not wanting to get up in front of a local group, one of the other ways that you can use this PowerPoint is to have a member record it on Zoom and then post the Zoom recording to your website. And so that the information gets out into your local community and is shared. The PowerPoints are well researched. The Education Committee has worked hard to make them enjoyable to look at and filled with information that everyone needs. You can see here, the PowerPoints aren't static. What Roselle Bloomingdale did give this PowerPoint to a local community group, and they adapted it to their speaking style, their speaking pattern. And so feel free to adapt these PowerPoints to fit your needs and in your community. We also, oops, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Let me show you. I'm going to go back to my shared drive by clicking on the little dots. I'm going to the drive. You're going to see the left-hand menu. It says shared drives. And I'm going to look for the LWV resource, shared resources. There we go. So some of the other information that is on the website in the modules when we release them is always a press release for our next speaker, so that you can do some local advertising on your Facebook page. You can use it in your voter, or you can send it again to your local news outlet. We also try and put in each module some other resources for you to be able to give to your members and to the community. Some great fact-checking websites are the News Literacy Project. Rumor Guard is a weekly newsletter that you can get from News Literacy Project. Factcheck.org, Snopes, Political Fact, Univision, Sunlight Foundation, NewsGuard, and USA Fact Check are just some of the resources that we've identified so far. We know we're going to be adding more resources. The Poynter Institute has developed a good fact checking, as well as the Scripps News Service has developed fact checking. So this is what we've done so far, and you can see that we have the same organization for, while that was intro information to tell your community what is mis and disinformation, why does it stick, and what they can do about it. The media literacy component also has the same resources. It includes the information for our next speaker. It includes some media literacy, social media posts. It includes the PowerPoint. It includes the PowerPoint that tells people how to recognize and combat it. And again, the PowerPoint has a full script so that you can give the information without doing a lot of homework. We also have in there, Chris has developed press releases, a letter to the editor that you can easily send to your local newspaper with some background information. And all you have to do is, once again, fill in the name of the president, your local city town, and a phone number, and submit it to the Daily Herald or whatever newspapers in your area. And once again, it'll contain every module has the public service announcements, or as we think of them, if you don't have a local television or radio station, as a way for other members of your community to join our efforts to stop mis and disinformation. Chris has scripted out all the messages. All they have to do is read them, and you'll get wider, broader reach for our goal. So that is quickly what we have developed. You will be getting a message. The league presidents and coordinators will be getting a message about the civil discourse module in the coming week, and it will announce our August speaker, who is one of Illinois' own Jill Winebanks from Sister-in-Law podcast. It contains, again, the letter to the editor and PSAs, a PowerPoint for your presentation in your community or to record for your website, a list of resources for people you can provide those to your library, to your members, and social media posts and infographics. And once again, I'll encourage you to use the infographics as a handout at your summer festivals, post them in coffee shops, post them in any community bulletin board that you may have, because they're really informative and give people some basic knowledge and awareness that mis and disinformation is out there and what they can do about it. Luckily, we've partnered with the News Literacy Project, which is a wonderful organization that provides information for us to use, and some videos that we'll be posting later. So that's a quick overview of what we've done in the last 6 months. And now Anne's going to talk to you about where we're going. Okay.
Thank you, Barb. Do you want to unshare your screen?
There we go.
Okay. You might notice I have a different background because my internet connection was not working in my other office. So my apologies if you start hearing my dog barking and my children walking around. But anyway, so the first, I guess, kind of half of this work is what Barb has just described, which is compiling a lot of content and resources and kind of filling up our bank of educational materials. The next phase is pushing that information out. So we do already have local league point people who have been sharing this information, but we kind of want to supercharge that going into November. So one of the really important things we're going to do is make some of these resources available on the Mis and Disinformation webpage that I shared in the chat. So right now it's got a lot of good tips about what is mis and disinformation, how not to engage, the things that Barb went through, but we're going to add 2 new sections. One is going to be called resources, and a lot of these educational materials that are in the modules are going to go in there. So if someone wants to do a deeper dive into how to have a civil conversation, all of the material that Barb just shared that's currently living on these Google Drives will hopefully be imported into the resource section. So that'll be exciting because it will be not just league members that have access to this kind of wealth of information. The general public can find it as well. The second part is what we're really excited about, which we're calling our election facts toolkit. So we all know that there is going to be, and already is, a lot of disinformation out there about how to vote, where to vote, who can vote, mail ballots, all kinds of election security issues. And our elections and voting team that Barb mentioned has been compiling a list of election facts. And we're currently in the process of putting those into graphics so that they can be shared publicly. We're calling them social media posts, but I'm thinking to myself that it's not just for social media. In fact, there's even been talk that the social media companies are suppressing political discussions. So you really want to be able to share those kind of outside of Facebook and Instagram. You can, one of our members has been putting information on Nextdoor. We all love and hate Nextdoor, but it's a really good way to get information out to maybe people outside of our league bubble. There's also community Facebook groups. We have the patch here on the North Shore, but I know there's different patches all over Illinois, and you can upload your own stories. So all of these election tools are going to be in the election facts toolkit, and we're really going to be pushing people to try to visit it and to download everything that's there and share it out to their communities. Because as we covered, you don't really want to get in an argument with somebody on social media in the comments, because that's just going to boost the original misinformation post. What we do want people to do is send out the correct information through their own channels. And that could be social media, that could be email, that could be having a conversation with somebody at the grocery store, putting the print materials in the library, all the things that Barb mentioned. So we kind of want to build that out, not just from the local leagues doing it, but also for the public having the opportunity to do it. We're also going to have some videos and some quizzes. So we hope that we'll get a lot of traffic on that. The other thing that we're looking at that we're kind of in discussions and trying to finalize is having something called the Illinois Election Facts Fact Checker. So this is through a partnership with a group in Virginia, and the League of Women Voters of Virginia and Utah are already using it. And it's kind of a one-stop shopping for fact checking. They are combining Snopes, Election Facts, PolitiFact, NewsGuard, a bunch of the different fact checking resources into one place. And you can go in and type something like non-citizen voting, and it will pull up articles from the different fact checking sites about that. So that's in the works. We're still in the process of getting that all together, but we're hoping that's something we'll be able to offer in probably October. And then the other thing is action alerts. So we have a reporting mechanism on the webpage now, where if you see something in your community or you see a rumor online, you can put that into the report. It will go to us, and our goal is to take that information and send it out as an action alert to the people that are part of our committee and our point people. And we're possibly going to be using League in Action. I don't know how many people are familiar with this, but it used to be called Outreach Circle. So League of Women Voters of Illinois is hoping to start a League in Action channel. And it's a peer-to-peer platform. So you can put in the people that you want to text, and it'll automatically generate a text for you to send out to people. So we're looking into that. We had a meeting about that yesterday to see whether that's the right platform for us to send out our actions. And then finally, actually 2 more things, sorry. We are also hoping to have a lot more back and forth conversation with local leagues about what's happening in your community and how we can help you. So again, we spent this first phase compiling a lot of the good information, and we want to spend the next phase, pushing it out and figuring out the best ways to get it out to the community. And Barb covered all kinds of different ways that you can help us do that. And then the final thing is that we have 2 more events planned. One in August, which is called SCOTUS Punts on Social Media Censorship, What's Next? That's on August 20th at 7 p.m. with Jill Winebanks, who is a local person. And she's going to be talking about, does the First Amendment allow U.S. government officials to intervene and prevent the spread of mis and disinformation on social media platforms? The U.S. Supreme Court recently had an opportunity to rule on this question. Instead, they declined to issue decisions in 2 cases, punting them back to officials in Texas and Florida. Jill Winebanks, the distinguished attorney and MSNBC legal analyst, will join us to speak about the U.S. Supreme Court's recent action on social media censorship. And I want to note that all of our programs so far have been recorded, but this one will not. So you have to join this one live on August 20th at 7 p.m. To see it. And then our next program, which I mentioned at the beginning, is on September 19th at 7 p.m. And again, there's going to be links to these in the calendar on the League of Women Voters of Illinois website. It's called Nobody's Fool: Why We Get Taken In and What We Can Do About It. It's with Professor Dan Simons, who is the co-author of a book by the same name. He's going to be talking to us about why we are susceptible to misinformation, often spreading it unknowingly. And while stopping it entirely is impossible, we can learn how deception works and to recognize the signs and empower ourselves. And that one we're doing in partnership with the Glenview and Northbrook libraries, and they've sent it out to their library network. And I think there's 52 libraries so far that have signed on to promote it. So mark your calendars for those. I'll put those in the chat. And yeah, that's kind of it for what we have. And now we would love to take any questions or have a conversation about what else would you like us to provide, or what other ideas do you have? And you can put them in the chat or raise your hand or whatever.
And I did mute everybody.
Okay.
Do you want me to do the questions, or why don't you guys want to go ahead, or how do you?
Go ahead, Catherine.
Okay, Sandra, please.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm first of all, I must say I'm amazed and overwhelmed with how much work you guys have put into this, and thank you so much. I wasn't convinced that this misinformation, disinformation was a real thing to be concerned about, but I am a believer now. And thanks for putting together all of this information that we can access. My question is, those last 2 workshops that you mentioned, the one in August and the one in September, particularly the one in August, you said it's not going to be recorded, you have to join live. When you say join, do you mean it will be on Zoom and you can join by Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I put the registration link in the chat, so to register for the August event.
Okay.
Could you also please put the dates in the chat?
Sure.
Thanks.
In September, that one will be recorded, and will that also be on Zoom?
Yes, all of them are on Zoom because we want everybody from all over the state to be able to join. So yeah, and the recordings of our previous webinars are also on the website.
Thank you.
The reason that we cannot record the August meeting is because Ms. Winebanks has a contract with MSNBC, which does not allow her to be recorded and placed in public where the public can access it. So it's a contractual thing for her. Um,
Wow, that's fascinating. I
yeah.
She's
So
also
everyone
the
gather
host
your
of the
popcorn.
she's also the host of the Sisters-in-Law podcast, if anybody's familiar with that. She's one of the co-hosts of that.
I love that.
Yeah.
She's the Watergate girl too, you
She
know
is
that.
the Watergate girl, yes.
With her mini skirt. I love
Yeah.
that picture.
I heard they're making that into a movie too. Somebody told
Oh,
me,
that would be fun.
or Netflix.
I'm looking for more questions in the meantime. Again, I just want to express, and we are seeing it in the chat as well, the amount of work you've done and how incredible it is. I'm excited about your next step where you're going to put some of these materials online so that we can point people directly to them. I'm thinking we've got a lot of high schools that could use this, and it would be great if I'm wondering if you could do sort of a high school node so that we could just send them directly to that with that, or high school, middle school, I guess. I don't know, but
Do you mean as like a subpage of the
yeah, 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 because we're all connected to high schools through our work and just through living in our communities as well. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could just get that out throughout the whole state? I just think that would be amazing.
Yeah, Catherine, I really think we could adapt that module 1 PowerPoint and information for them, and because that intro PowerPoint basically goes over what is misinformation. It talks about why we believe it and what to look out for.
Yeah.
And as a former high school teacher, that's probably what I'd want to give my students. So we can though put a toolkit together for just high school information with some infographics that cover all 3 topics in one briefing. That would be a great idea.
With TikTok, you know, in the middle, things they use first. Georgia, do you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Yes, I think it's wonderful what you are all doing for Illinois, but Illinois is not the only state. I don't know what the US League is doing. Your information is so good. Is there a way to expand this to partner entities in other states, say the battleground states in particular?
Barb, do you want to take that about the NICDS?
Yeah, well, I'll just answer that. Ann and I at convention were merciless in passing out business cards to let other states know that we have this information on our website and have people contact us. The national group does have a mis and disinformation task force that they established in the battleground states. Ann and I have been in contact with the LWV US person who's coordinating those efforts to offer to share our information so that we're all not reinventing the wheel, right? We also have made this information available to the LWV National Institute for Civil Discourse Working Group so that they would have access to the information. I can't say that we've been inundated with requests, but you know, as we get closer to the election, we might find more people wanting to share some of the work that the committee has done.
If I can follow up for a minute, I think that we are not well regarded in certain quarters. We're deemed to actually be partisan rather than nonpartisan. And so I'm wondering, what about trusted entities in states who are amenable to our resources? I'm wondering if those issues, not of our own doing, could be an inhibition to people accessing this invaluable information.
Well, and I think that's where we rely on the local leagues, to reach out either directly or indirectly to some of the people in your communities that may be not as trusting of the league as they should be, and give this presentation. And I think that what they'll see is that we're really just looking for to rebuild trust in our elections, and for everyone to be making a decision on accurate information and not emotional responses. So, we have reached out to the American Library Association, for instance, the Illinois. We've reached out to some Illinois groups, but the impact, I think, is going to be made in your local communities with the people that you know most.
Mhm. Wonderful. Carolyn, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, there is a national group. I was a social studies teacher, also called the National Council for Social Studies. And I just wondered if there was a way for us to be in touch with that group. There may be an Illinois Council of the Social Studies still in existence. I was just looking on the website, and the latest, I don't know, organizational conference was 2020. So I don't know what their status is. So that's just a comment, I guess. And then give me a second. Sandra asked that I would ask this question. Is there any state league funding available for the print materials? Just a question, because some league locals are more strapped than others.
I think they put Ann and I in charge of this committee because we've managed to work without a budget and have spent zero money thus far. So
We've
we
gotten all these speakers for free by begging.
That's cool. Okay.
Somehow we got
Okay.
known as the state beggars. I'm not sure how, but no, as far as we know right now, there has been no state monies or funding put aside. I know in our local league, we've been able to email information to our local libraries, and the local libraries have printed it out for us.
Okay.
So that's an idea.
Yeah.
Carolyn, being a former social studies teacher myself, I mail my friends in my area, and they use the school printer to copy things.
Yes.
What we've also done is we just buy those simple plastic frames that you can get on Amazon or your dollar store,
Right.
and add a QR code to and put them on tables for our fairs and things like that. So we're not wasting paper and making the environmentalists crazy. So, those are some of the ways that you can use those infographics by just having a QR code that can be developed. And that's probably a good
Okay.
idea. You probably should put QR codes on all those infographics.
Okay.
Now I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Carolyn.
No, thank you.
There was a question that I answered in the chat, but probably should bring it up for everyone. And that is that these two programs coming up in August and September are for the general public. They're not members only. And you do want all of us to get the word out far and wide, right? Spread the word.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Excellent.
the word is spreading that these programs are available. Anne, was it our last program that we had 300?
Yeah, that one was the one about how to have conversations with people you disagree with politically. So I think the title of that one was a big draw. And our speaker was a professor at the University of Texas, communications professor, and she really delved into particularly online conversations, because I feel like all the time people are posting things and I just want to get in there and tell them why that's not correct. And that's not really the right strategy. So she gave us some really good tips. I would really highly recommend, if you have an hour, viewing that video, or when the module comes out, which, as Barb said, is coming out shortly, looking at the materials that are in there. Because, the more that we comment on posts that are incorrect, the more the algorithm says, yay, controversy, and the more people that see it. And so she had some really good tips for online and for in-person discussions around the Thanksgiving table or the family reunion or picnic or whatever.
Another question that's I think some some of them can only come to me for some reason. So,
Yeah.
so I just learned that that's why I'm getting them. Yeah, Tiffany wants, are the materials accessible in terms of transcripts or written text for social media posts? And I think she wants to know, right now they're in your Google Drives. But I think she's looking, how can, the best way for her to push those out. Tiffany, can you unmute if I got that wrong? In the meantime.
I think what you do is if you just right click on the social media post that you'd like to use. If you right click on it, you'll get a drop down menu that gives you the option to download. So what you would do is download the post to your own computer, and then you would open the social media vehicle that you'd like to use and just upload it again. So all the materials,
download folder. Yeah.
so yeah, you can download it to your download folder, or you can choose your desktop, or however you do it. I always choose desktop. That's why I can't find anything ever, because my desktop is crazy. But that works for all the material in the drive, is to download it. And that way you can be like what Roselle Bloomingdale did, is they downloaded the PowerPoint and they changed the wording and the order so it was a more comfortable speaking style for them. And we invite you to do that. We invite you to download and use the material to make it more familiar for yourself and workable for you.
If anyone makes some significant changes or adds something, would you like to see that back in case there's something you all want to incorporate or add the whole thing? Like I think you did with Roselle one, didn't you? Did it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. And some leagues have youth members, that are looking for things to do. I know we do. We have emerging leaders, we're totally open to having, people make TikToks for us, using this information, making YouTube shorts. That's what my daughter's into. This could be fun, I think, for your membership, particularly your younger members, to try to use some of the PSAs, as Barb said, or some of the materials. I just heard from some youth members that a trend right now on TikTok is the tiny mic interview. I've seen some of those, and where you go out and you have a tiny microphone and you interview people on the street, and then upload it to TikTok. And that's I can't keep track of all the trends on TikTok, but that's a positive one. So we're totally open to receiving information from all of you that we can share out on a state level as well.
That would be great. I mean, I saw Jane smile when you mentioned tiny mic. So I picture Jane out this afternoon in doing tiny mic interviews. But if you do those, yes, as Ann said, please share them, because we've tried several avenues to try and get a youth committee to do TikToks or to do some younger sorts of approaches to awareness, and we haven't been successful so far. So any help you all can provide, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, doing some materials, please let us know and we'll upload it in the folder for the state, as Ann said.
Right. Tiffany. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Catherine.
Tiffany is unmuted, but we might not be able to hear her. Tiffany, can you give a try? Yeah, there's something going on. Okay. But we're okay. If she has a follow-up, Tiffany, if you have a follow-up, drop it in the text and I'll ask it for you. Okay.
Yeah, and I just put our email address in there again. Barb put it in earlier, but this goes hopefully to us. This forwards to both of us, and literally any suggestion you have, we are open to hearing it. I mean, we've heard a couple of really great suggestions today about having a high school module, that we can send out to social studies teachers, civics teachers. I think that's a great idea. We are working with someone to do some quizzes using an app that teachers use. And there's going to be true or false questions about elections, and it's shiny and pretty and, I think more youth oriented than some of the other stuff that we've done. So, we get our best ideas from our grassroots network. So we're happy to hear suggestions from all of you.
Right. And I do have Tiffany's follow-up.
Okay.
Her question had more to do with accessibility. She's wondering about folks who are blind and can't see the words or an image. Have you made any headway in that direction?
Well, that's where I think some of the recordings, just recording the program would be helpful so that they don't have to attend and they can hear. We haven't gone into any large type or other accommodations with the materials, but that's definitely something that we should consider. We are also looking for help with Spanish translation or a different language translation, because we'd like to put a lot of these materials available in Polish and the 7 languages, I believe, that are most common in the state of Illinois.
Wonderful. Yeah. She's especially thinks that this would be really good for Instagram in particular.
Right. The web page can be translated into other languages, and I think that's part of the effort that Anne is going to be really working on, is to get a lot of this information onto the web page so that people can use that select language to translate the page. It always, I just have to do a personal thing. It irritates me that select language is in English so that they can translate it into another page, but I think probably they're familiar with that now.
Yeah, and also screen readers will be available to people if you have it in that format. Jane,
just one second. Do people know about the app that's available on your phone? It's called Google Translate, that all you have to do is hold it over with your camera. Right. And we've used that a lot until we get the materials translated.
I also wanted to say that, Tiffany, all of the webinars that we've done, I think all, but most of them, at least some of them we do have transcriptions. So I think we could put something on there that says transcription available or something, Barb.
I tried to get the transcription in different languages, and
just for people who are blind or
actually hearing impaired in that case, right?
Yeah, we could do that.
Right.
The sad part is I tried to get the transcription translated by Google into Spanish, and it had a brain freeze and wasn't able to do it.
But there are transcriptions, so that is one option if you're hearing impaired.
Wonderful. Jane, you've been patient.
Yeah, I just want to say make two additional points. Is one is what's really exciting about this is, this work does not just stop with the November election. So it doesn't mean like once this election's over, this work doesn't keep continuing, and it's where all of us at the grassroots level can really kind of jump in and keep the work going that has been built, post-election. There's always going to be elections. There's always going to be misinformation and disinformation out there. And what's really exciting is to really start to build up that foundation where the more we get comfortable with these materials, the more we're able to bring people into this work. It just becomes second nature to our work and, to how people approach the media, how people approach social media, how people approach elections and civic engagement and participation. So that's, one point that, this work will never, be done, and we need to sort of build it out. And second point is, someone had mentioned sort of, well, what's being done in battleground states. And, we need to be looking out for our neighbors. We need to be looking out for our nation, but there's so much work to be done here in Illinois. And anyone who's like, I don't need to do anything here, the work is done. It's like, I think, especially with this Task Force is highlighting is incredibly important work that we can be doing right here in Illinois for this election and beyond. That it's like, whatever people want to do to sort of help everybody out, we are all jumping in wherever we can, but don't just think that Illinois is safe because you're being told Illinois is safe, or the people on your block get out and vote, and you like your elected officials. There's so much work to be done here in your local communities, in your municipalities, in our state and counties.
Great. And I'll just build on that. What we heard the other day from someone at Common Cause is that Illinois is actually one of the states that has the most investment by dark money in fake local news outlets. Shouldn't surprise any of us that get them in the mail or see them on email, but
especially in Cook County, I'm sure we're all very familiar with some of the local efforts on that. I'll actually post
newspapers. Yes,
I'll actually post for everyone if they're interested. I'll put it in the chat, the link to that article, because I know it was incredibly enlightening, even for us who have been, having these planning calls in anticipation of this in the election. It was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
There's as much being spent here as there is in swing states.
And then there's the urban myth that we can't get rid of. And when I work with returning citizens, they're sure that they can't vote because other states don't allow it. So we have our own little things that we need to get out there.
Yep.
Chris, you've been very patient. Yeah, you're unmuted. Great. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I know the task force has reached out to local election authorities with things, and I'm just wondering if you have an update with that. I'm wondering, for example, should we be reaching out some more to Cook County, some of your materials, because partisan, I could see election authorities potentially wanting to use them, not all of them, obviously, but you might, that might be something you also might look at, is if there's certain things you might want to send out to the local election authorities, or that they might use. But if you have an update, really what the local election authorities are doing or not doing in that regard.
Yeah, I would put that in the doing or not doing category. And I think we should coordinate with you as far as following up on anybody that was at the Cook County annual meeting, League of Women Voters of Cook County annual meeting. The gentleman from the Cook County election office for the suburban Cook County voters said, oh yeah, I'd love to have a forum with you to talk about mis and disinformation. So we haven't planned that, but I think you're right, Chris, that we need to emphasize to voters that your local election authority is who you should go to if you have a question about voting. I mean, we can give you information, but really, like, they are the stopping point for you. And we need to put that out there to people, because if you see information, you're not sure if it's right, you can check with your county election authority or the Chicago Board of Elections in the case of Chicago. So I think that's something we should definitely follow up on, that we haven't done yet, but we do intend to do. And Barb, did you have anything to add to that?
Well, we do have we've developed a good relationship with the Illinois State Board of Elections, and hopefully the Beth Ann, who does the social media, is asking us to send her information to do posts statewide. So I think the election committee has reached out to about 8 election authorities to develop that relationship and ask them to send us what they're hearing, and how we can debunk that. And and what's really important is our reporting page. So as people see things, we can go to the election authority and suggest to them that they put out something to debunk what we're hearing on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we can anticipate that we're going to hear misinformation about vote by mail, and based on the lawsuit that's gone through and some of the legislation that's going through about non-citizens voting. So I think some of those are 2 areas that we're already working on that we can predict will be.
I was wondering, is there any way on the homepage or somewhere we can get some links at, in the Illinois Voter Guide? We have that opening page and we link to a lot of things, but I'm just wondering if we've been giving that out for a long time and the URL hasn't changed, and it gets a lot of traffic. Especially we give it, and we really push it hard for the city colleges. But it might be nice if there were a tab or something that we could put together, something for you all to.
You're talking about on the Illinois Voter Guide homepage?
Yeah, or
Okay, I'll take a look at
within it. I don't know where. I'm thinking, because it's
Yeah.
layered, there's different layers. But I think once you get to the list of the candidates, you've probably gone too far.
Okay.
But
yeah, we can talk to them about that. I mean, I think it's also, something that we have not delved into yet, but again, has been an interest of some of the committee members, is candidate disinformation. So spreading disinformation about your opponent in the election. And, we obviously all provide as local leagues, nonpartisan information from the candidates themselves. And so I think there's a huge opportunity here to also send people to Illinois Voter Guide or send people to their local leagues to learn about candidates and learn factual information about those candidates.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's all in there, isn't it? Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll send your suggestion to Catherine to voter service.
Oh yeah. I think they would get I think they would be excited about this, actually.
Right.
Because that's at the basis, how do you get good information on candidates? How do you get good information on elections? It dovetails. I've been having a conversation with Tiffany, and Tiffany is from Bolingbrook, and she has been working in this area of accessibility, and she would be willing to help you all with a little bit of it. So yay, Tiffany.
Yay, Tiffany. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can Tiffany email us at the address that I put in the chat, or if she wants to direct message me with her email, I'd be happy to get in touch with her.
Yeah. Since she can only talk to me, why don't you? I'll have her give me her email.
Okay.
We can get it from the registration as well, because
I was going to say, I think I have it on her registration. The registration.
Excellent. And then she has a follow-up question of
There it is.
Her last name is Stewart, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I've got her email.
Oh, good. And we started talking a little bit about Tiffany was asking about a full list of all positions open, who is running for those spots, and that is the Illinois Voter Guide for us. And Tiffany can only email it, chat to me, and I can't get to a web page. So could somebody please drop the URL for the Illinois Voter Guide into chat for me?
Yeah, it's just illinoisvoterguide.org, but I'll drop it in.
Yeah. It's really, really great, especially for the judges. Oh my gosh. Because for the judges, they give how, at least in Chicago, they give how the 13, 14 bar associations rank them, which is so helpful.
I think just a point of information for everyone is that what's been really fascinating, have a committee of 45 members from around the state and 26 leagues. What we've learned is that there really is no standard election procedure. Now, you would think that would be obvious, right? But it's been a challenge for the election committee to come up with some standards other than everybody mails on the same date, mail vote-in ballots, and there's some state mandated, but procedures within county are very, very different.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing.
And even within Cook County, you guys know this, but even within suburban Cook County and Chicago, there's differences, as we learned with the reporting of the state's attorney race.
It's true.
Mhm.
So we've had to be very careful, and I can see Voter Service Committee has to be very careful in their messaging that we don't confuse people that what you can do in DuPage, you can't do in Cook. And what you can do in Will County is totally different than DuPage. It's been maybe become a league initiative to get some standardization.
Wouldn't that be a great idea?
Well, the main thing that's cool that you can do in DuPage and apparently also in Champaign County, we heard yesterday, is you can vote anywhere on election day. You don't have to go to your precinct.
Oh, you can vote anywhere at a voting center in
No.
Chicago.
In Chicago.
But
In
they
Chicago,
go
not in
to
Cook County.
any precinct polling. That's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah. So in DuPage, if I'm in Elmhurst, I can vote there rather than where I live on the opposite end of the county in my precinct. So
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
We don't have any more questions, but I was just wondering, you said that you have maybe 26 of the local leagues represented in your thing. I'm just wondering if anyone here today is from a league that might want to, it looks like all the hard work's done. What we need now, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but what we need now is someone who will take charge of moving this into their community, into their area, right? As much as anything. I'm just wondering, I know you've put your email address in there, but I just thought I'd try and drum some business up for you.
Yeah, we are still accepting volunteers if people would, would like to join us. We have, I think we're up to 27 now, Barb, leagues.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
we have, but there's 42.
Oh, 42.
So we still have a ways to go. And that's, again, one of the things I think that we're going to be able to focus on now that we have spent all this time putting all the content together. Now we need to reach out to those. Just to be clear, we reach out to all of the presidents of all of the local leagues. Even if we don't have a point person for your league president is your point person.
Now, Chris is your point person for Chicago.
Yeah.
So, and she's got her hand up. So, Chris.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Actually, hold on just a second. I lost my train of thought. Oh, Becky Simon has been going around the state talking to our existing leagues or people who want to form leagues and get more active. I'm not quite sure, but she's been all over the state. So she could be a helpful resource, maybe, in identifying leagues that might be open to having this as a project.
Sure. Jane has her hand up, it looks like. Yeah, Jane.
Yeah, just to follow up with what, Chris said and what we've been talking about, like the resources for these things are for sort of everyone in the league and everyone to sort of share out. So especially for kind of local smaller leagues that don't really have a lot of like the infrastructure or volunteering, like there's still so much you can do, even just sharing this stuff on social media, sending stuff out via email. Like the way that this task force has really assembled stuff is there's things for sort of every tier of volunteer or person in league life to be able to pull stuff out and apply and be a part of the process of, making informed decisions and getting correct information. So it's even like, and I say this to sort of our members all the time, it's like, we have super volunteers who can spend 40 hours working on a passion project, but we also have people who are members because they just really want to learn what the league is doing. And I think, especially everyone on this call and anyone who's in sort of leadership positions in their local leagues, their county league, or within the state league, like it's really important that we sort of share these tools and make sure our members are aware of this stuff. Like there's so much content that the state sort of puts out, that national puts out, that we are allowed to use as local leagues, and we should be using in the work that we're doing. It's there for us to use. So, I hope that people feel very inspired and that this stuff is very accessible to them.
I was wondering, Rochelle's on the call, and I wondered if she who's co-chair of the election committee, if she wanted to say any words that I forgot, or talk about the relationship she's building. Rochelle?
Thank you. Yes, earlier in the year at the primary, I exchanged a lot of information with Mr. Bevins of the Chicago Board of Elections, and he was very helpful and interested, and gave us a lot of good information, especially about poll watching and other things. So I think as we get closer to the election, I tried to reach out to him periodically, and so I think having a good relationship with the local board of elections is very good, and I think we'll probably try to share now that some of the work that we've done is available on our website and in the modules. We could perhaps share some of that with that board and a few of the other counties that the election committee has been in contact with.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Well, we're excited with the materials. We always look for suggestions. We're looking for new ideas. You've given us some today on how to go forward. We hope that as you use the materials and you need them adapted or whatever, you let us know. We really hope that everyone in these final months approaching November will heed Jane's call to action and let the league be a leader in this, in fighting mis and disinformation and trusting in our elections in Illinois.
Right. Chris, did you have a question? You're muted, Chris. You are muted.
The only question I had was about using the tool information in the toolkits, because a lot of that can be customized. So what if we have a dozen people sending out the same letter to the editor to the same media? I mean, that's not going to happen, but that's the only reason that I just think we have to be I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to that, but that's a concern.
I can speak on that. So those sorts of actions, like the local presidents and the state league coordinate on those sorts of actions, like, a letter to the Tribune or something like that. So those are sort of higher level things. But definitely, like, if you're looking to do those sort of big action, public facing action items, please work with your local league leadership to establish like the right chain of command for handling those sorts of things. But anything that's branded league stuff, has already been vetted and gone through stuff. So in terms of sharing on social media, in terms of emailing, posting on your local league websites, that information is 100% has been vetted at different tiers of league in order to form to the high standard that we have in the projects that we work on.
So what you're suggesting, Jane, is that if you have a local newspaper or something, that you find the appropriate letter to the editor and modify it, and then if you're not the president of your local league, you bring that to the president of your local league. Is that a good plan of action?
Yes.
Yes. It's important that the league speak with one voice, and it is your local league president that speaks for your local league. So while you're the coordinator, you can do a great service by bringing this information to your local league. I also think, for instance, many of us are in the Daily Herald service area. And what I was once told by the editor of the Daily Herald is that getting 6 letters about the same thing is good. And one of them will get printed because they see that it's an emphasis throughout the DuPage area. So I'm not too worried about duplicating letters going to the
Okay.
same source.
Nice.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I believe what they did the last time that happened when 8 DuPage leagues sent the same letter, they printed the letter and then they just added the 8 signatures when they published the letter. So
Perfect.
I also think, and there's something really special about the collaboration for this particular briefing that we really wanted to emphasize of sort of having it be Cook County, sort of as a region, and not just sort of informing them, all of our leagues on this work, but also just to sort of get people excited about kind of that interleague collaboration on things. So to Barb's point, like, there's a lot of leagues within DuPage County. They all can be sort of working really closely on efforts throughout the county and, in that way. So I think, if people have ideas for things, in Cook County in general, like, we should be talking with the Cook County League leadership and brainstorming ways that we can kind of have the maximum effort um in this work and beyond.
Absolutely.
Great.
Any more questions?
any more comments or suggestions? If they come to you later this afternoon, tomorrow, or the next day, please email us your ideas. We want this information to be used and adaptable and people to feel comfortable with it. And that's going to come from you looking over the material, suggesting changes. Anne and I would be more than happy to meet with you and rehearse. If you want to try the PowerPoints, we'd be more than happy to come to your league and present one of the PowerPoints if you'd like, as long as you're not in Carbondale.
We might go to Carbondale. I don't know, but but I will say again that we also would like to collaborate with all of you. So as I said at the beginning, this event today started as a conversation with Jane and Chris and Catherine. And, if your local area the best. And so if you want to have a conversation with us about ideas that you have or things that we can offer, I think that's, again, the next phase of what we're doing now. And we would love to have the opportunity to talk to you or your president, your board, whomever, about how we can get the word out about this.
We did develop a form. I'll just add one more thing. We did develop a form to evaluate our progress thus far, and has been sent to the local league presidents and to the designated point people for each league. So I would encourage you to reach out to your league president if you're not a league president, or and have them fill out the form so that we can get input on more and more input going forward.
Right.
I also noticed, Catherine, you put something in the chat from Carolyn about seeing an odd free paper that she couldn't find the source for. And then when she drove through Staunton, she also picked up one that was the same format and wondered if we could help with the source. I don't know if we can, but I think that is a perfect example of these what they're called pink slime newspapers that are out there, where, they publish one. The one here is North Cook News.
There's South Cook News, West.
And it's the same thing. It just has a different title, but it has no masthead to tell you who the editor is or who published it. So we know who published it. But there's several large companies out there that are doing this, like all over the country.
Yeah. So before we close out, we're getting close to the hour. There are a number of people who signed, a lot of people signed up who aren't here. And we always send a follow-up email. So what do you want in the email? Obviously, we would really like to see a link to the site, maybe mini instructions on how to get into the drives.
Okay.
Your email address for follow-up.
Yep.
If you could think about that, if anyone on the call before we get off has something that they'd like to see in that follow-up email, let us know now.
Great.
Catherine, can I suggest that you might even consider not just limiting it to the people who signed up to attend this, at least in Chicago, and we might do something similar in Cook County for that, so we can reach more people.
Yeah, maybe we can devote a larger section in our newsletter that comes out every Tuesday. I think that's great. We'll work with Barb and Chris to get something with instructions in our newsletter.
And Chris, maybe we can also have a handout or a QR code or some instructions for the food for thought, so that we're seeing people in person.
Yeah, that would be great. But and then, as I said, we could probably also do it with our emails to all the members of Cook County Leagues.
Great.
Yeah,
One
we
of
have.
One of the advantages of sharing the material far and wide is that even if people don't give the presentations or share it, they're going to be educating themselves on what is mis and disinformation, and they're going to benefit and go, oh my gosh, I do react to those emotional posts. Oh my God, I did share that. I shouldn't have shared that. So it's a lot of good, just general individual education in those modules. So thanks. That's a great idea for spreading the word to as many people as possible.
I'll sort of do one suggestion for any of the follow-up stuff. If we can get Sophie to just create sort of the QR code, she probably already has, but if we can share like the image file for the QR code, so we're not like all generating different QR codes that go to the thing, that we could just use the one that's already been created for it, that then as we go into November election in particular, where we're doing lots of voter registration events, lots of events in general, we can sort of apply that in, whatever materials we need, whether it's on a table or whether it's cards or flyers or whatever, people have that.
Okay.
Yeah, one for league events where members will want to get to the drive, and one for the general public. Especially those pages you guys are about to get put up.
Yeah, I'd like to have one maybe for the election facts toolkit that goes directly there, because that's going to have a lot of pre-bunking or debunking information about election rumors. So yeah, that would be great.
This is a question for Chris and Cynthia. Could we have something available on the tables at Food for Thought?
Actually, Anne just had mentioned that we can, yes.
Lovely.
Okay. So how do we make sure that
We'll follow. I'll follow up with them
offline.
Yep. Well, yeah, we'll follow up.
Yeah, and we'd love to collaborate with anybody else that wants to do it. So this has been great. Thank you so much, Jane and Catherine and Chris, for making it possible for us. I'm so in awe of what you guys are doing in Chicago, and we really, really appreciate the opportunity to share this with Cook County. So thank you, Cynthia and Chris, as well, for co-sponsoring and putting it in our Cook County newsletter. And thank you, everybody, for being here.
And I'm getting all kinds of messages to me with thumbs up and clapping. I don't know why.
And I'll just be Mr. Echo and ditto all of Anne's thoughts. This was great. I love seeing the names and faces of people I haven't seen in a while. It's been great.